Hi and welcome to the Aaron Roussos podcast. Today's episode, I just wanted to, I've spoken about this subject in pieces and parts and even written about it in many books. But I just wanted to give you a bit of a timeline about the system we belong to. So, we don't know the system we belong to. We don't know how it works. We don't even know, how our bodies work. And there's a reason for that. We're at a very early stage of understanding, and we're at a very early stage of, our little piece of the picture. And we're part of a bigger picture. So if you zoomed out, you would see that what we're part of, our part at the moment is at it's called infancy. It's at a very early stage. And so that's why we can't see the system we're part of, or, our own human systems, how we work, how we're interconnected can be integrated with the bigger picture. We don't know what we don't know. And that's usually a phrase that's used to describe levels of consciousness and things. Even just the word consciousness, we have no idea collectively or generally or commonly what that word means. So that's why a lot of the things that I talk about, no one understands. No one, even, when I'm dealing with government, I'm dealing with government specialists, professors, science and medical doctors that are really, government advisors and specialists in their field, but even they can't really comment on my level of awareness and understanding, because I've understood each and one of those individual professors or doctors or specialists' own speciality, but I've also gone to the level of understanding how it's integrated and how it works in the bigger scheme of things, so I can put them all together. So therefore they have no idea or can't even comment on some of the things that I can do. And look, that's in its early, I guess. It's not early for me, but it's about 8 years old for me, but it's early to them and to the system and to you listening. So I guess you need to just have a bit of an open mind and be willing to ask a few questions to understand a little bit more of what could be available to make your life a lot better. And that is if you want it to be better. You might have a great life, you might have all the money you want or the abundance, you might be in control of your health and have a beautiful energy and a beautiful family life and relationships. And if so, then you don't need to go looking for anything. But if you felt like something wasn't right, or there was more to it all, or there was other levels to unlock, then that's where this information comes in. But obviously, one thing to do, whether it be any part of your life, you can't change anything unless you know what's causing it, or how it all works. And I just told you we're in our infancy, so that's why no one has the power to transmute, to transform, to change things. We can do it on a surface level, on a very simple, small scale, make us feel a little bit better, but I'm talking about real profound impact, and there's just nothing like it. So the system we're part of, which is today's podcast, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about all this other stuff I'm going on about. I just wanted to set a bit of a picture. Okay, so the system that we're part of, from where I sit now, and there's more to know, but I'll just give you the basic overview of it. Okay, so we're on a planet, and as I said, we're in infancy. We don't know a lot about it. We don't know how the planet works, and we don't know how we work. We don't know the system. we have no idea. We have, sensationalized movies and things, and we have ancient history, which is even not the full picture. Nothing that can solidly be tested or proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That's all part of it. But obviously, we come in, we can't trust nobody, so we trust those entrusted to provide some answers to us, and even those answers are a little bit vague, and so we've accepted a lot of things into our belief system without testing them, and that's okay. That's that's where we're at as far as a planet goes. So I guess to understand what goes on this planet is in I guess the end game for our planet. So what's the end game for us? We're sitting here now in our infancy, as I've mentioned. What's the end game? The end game is ascended planet status. And that's when everyone on the planet grows up. Everyone is aware, has the knowledge of our system, how it all works. They've mastered it. They've become really good at it. They're in control of their health, their wealth, their abundance. Everything's great. Ascended planet status. That's what we can all evolve to. Now, if that's the end game and we're in the infancy, then there's a long way to go. Change is very slow on this planet. And everything is, there's some facts that we can deal with. And that is that everything will be emerge. There's never anything that comes along and goes, oh, look, this is a new discovery in science, or this is a new thing we found out. And they just drop absolutely everything of the past and we move on to the new model. We usually build templates through merging the best of both systems, because we've obviously relied on what we know up to a certain point. And this goes across a lot of things, but basically we're headed to an ascended planet status. Now, what does that look like? Well, let's be honest. The first step is probably getting there is we don't kill each other. At the moment, it's quite common and it's quite acceptable, even though most of us don't agree with it, that there's people going to war, Ukraine and Russia at the moment. It's okay for crazy people like President Trump to start or say that he's all about, let's just throw out different narratives and say that he's the most peaceful president. He stops wars and all the rest of it, but then he's just unleashed a war on Iran and really affected the whole world in more ways than one, and killing people. There's innocent people dying. Now, we know that's not right, but we've become desensitized. If it was happening in our own back garden and your kids were being bombed and being killed, it'll be more of a reality. And that's the same thing with anything, with the science, healing, all that sort of stuff. If you've got lived with experience, it's much more impact when you can see it and understand it, and it means something more than being on the other side of the world and knowing that other people's children are being killed innocently just by mistake, by being in the wrong place, because someone has unleashed a huge tirade of billions of dollars worth of weaponry. Who wins out of that? Who wins out of war? The people that supply the bombs, that make them, the people that profiteer from war. Who profiteers from us being sick? The people who provide the treatments. There's no cures being presented in 50 years. A million of the greatest minds ever on this planet throughout history, trillions of dollars, all the resources absolutely available to everyone, and no one has provided one cure of anything in our whole existence of this planet this time round, ever, except for me, and no one wants to know that because it doesn't fit into that system that we're part of. So we've got a long way to go to get to ascended planet status. Now, what happens when we get to ascended planet status? Well, look, there's lots of this answers for this sort of stuff in my book. It's called The Absolute Theory of Everything So Far by Aaron Roussos. It's on Amazon. It costs $11.99, or you can listen to it for a short time only on Kindle Unlimited. But it explains the mechanics of our system, how it all works, how how it all works. I'm not going to get into it. I'm trying to explain something to people that don't understand it, and that means they can weaponize it against me. So I'm got to stop explaining things to people that are never going to get it. They just don't get it. So what happens when we get to ascended planet status? We're part of a bigger system. That means then, because there's billions of universes and planets and stars, it's almost an infinity stage. So the chances of us being the only ones in this game there's no probability of that being the case. In fact, it's almost an impossibility, right? Well, we don't think about that because we're not critical thinkers. We've just gone to school for 13 years and learnt repetition, so we're pretty fucked up as far as a race of human beings go. But we're in our infancy. We don't know any better. We're trusting. We're nice people, Narcissists and arseholes can't do that to arseholes. They can only do it to nice people. So we can only be fooled because we're such nice people. We want the best for everyone. We want what's best for everyone. So we're part of this bigger system. We grow up, we ascend, and as a privilege then we get to meet what's commonly classed as our family, our extended family, our star family. Once again, it's in my book, how it all works, the mechanics of it, and how we have that. Now, you might, you've watched Hollywood movies. There's fear, indoctrination, really all this bullshit that you have bought and can believe with. It's very human of you to do so, but we don't live in a human system, a physical human system. We live in a part of 3D, but it's also integrated with other parts of us. So that's just your mind playing tricks, and your mind can do amazing things positively or negatively and all the rest of it. That's in the book as well. So when you get to ascended planet status and we all grow up and we don't killing each other anymore, and health, we're in control of our health and this, and we've got great discoveries, and we are really having a ball about life, and we can really... we're so content with everything and thingo. We get to meet our star family, and as a reward or a thing, we can then go to somewhere else close in our galaxy and find another planet that is ripe and ready for inhabitants or life, or everything started. This Earth, this planet was a ball of fire for 20 million years. Slow change, but we got there. The microorganisms, the water, the spectrums of life, and life was born on this planet. We've evolved to the state we're at. Now, anthropologists know there's many things written across time where anomalies sort of appeared or disappeared more so, and they call that the end of variety. And it was about 100,000 years ago when, like monkeys, there was 20 different types of humans walking the earth, and all of a sudden there was one, and that's us. And so what you'll find that is when we get to an ascended planet status at the end, and then we get to go and seed another ready planet that is ripe and ready to be seeded with our DNA and have the divinity planted within. That's the bigger system when you zoom out. That's what we're part of. And because we're ascended, we've met our star family, and they have basically seeded us. Now, it takes approximately 1 million years from seeding to ascending planet status for each planet. So you know, you hear about all these star families and stuff online now. It's all quite full on and galactic and all this bullshit. That's in my book as well. And so people are, you know, finding a group and all the rest. That's human, that's drama, that's sensationalized fucking war and all that sort of shit. They're all our family. One's our parents, our seeding parents, the Pleiadians from the Seven Sisters. Then the next is our grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-great-grandparents. And every million years, it goes on, and it goes to last for a long time. So there's quite a few out there. And so we get to then, in time, as part of this bigger system, go and seed another planet that's ripe and ready for the seeding process. It's an invitation. It's a merge. You know, we usually stay for 1,000 years or so and make sure that it works and stuff. And I guess, you know, in the bigger picture, you've heard there's a chapter in my book called The Ascended Masters. And Jesus was an ascended master, Sunak Kumatra. There's many different, all across different religions, and Buddha, and they are just people that have mastered being on planet Earth. They've mastered being a human on Earth. All of those masters have walked the earth just like you and me and mastered it. And as a last, test for being a master is you master the physics and you die and you come back to life. So all of them have done that, mastered it completely, and then they don't have to then come back down here and reincarnate. They can stay in the etheric realm and become masters, and a little bit like area managers, and help us all magnetically down here to achieve growth and you know, everything on the planet. Once again, it's in my book. Has a bias, and the bias is love. And that explains through physics how that all works. Once again, you have no idea. You're quite happy to ridicule me, and a lot of you will be listening to this going, yeah, right, that's fine. Unfortunately, I can't say I told you so for another, you know, couple of 100,000 years or so, because, well, you never know. It just depends on growth. There's no time limit. As I said, time is a man-made construct. And so that's part of the system that we're in. So we're here to master it. Earth is a school ground. It's not an economic ground for driving whatever we're driving at the moment. We'll grow out of that phase. But as we grow out of these phases, and quite slowly, they're all mergers. There's never going to be a savior. There's no one coming to save us. We save ourselves, basically. It's slow. It's never what we think it's going to be. That's a very human way of thinking of things, that some savior, some god, some fucking alien, all this shit that you think of, that's never going to happen, never has happened throughout any incarnation of these million year cycles, from seeding to ascended planet status, that we're part of. To understand what I'm telling you, you need to start to become a master yourself and go through those things. A couple of such things that stop us from understanding this is obviously human conditioning. And at the moment, you're born into this really low consciousness, into a real negative energy. You know, bullies still can thrive. It's not always going to be the case, but we're growing up. We're evolving. We're going, no, that's not acceptable anymore. Time. And I'll give you an example. That Me Too movement in Hollywood. That's been going on for as long as Hollywood's been around. Women have been taken advantage of. Bullies, people with money, all the rest of it, thought that that was acceptable, and that was just the way it was. They couldn't really get caught. They had a free ride. Some women have stood up and gone, no, not anymore. That's not going to happen. A Me Too movement has happened, and that changed in our lifetime. It's been prevalent and able to exist the whole time up until now. So we do grow up It's just slower than we would like to admit. It's not as humanly, your human mind does go in a million miles and things. It's nothing to do with that. We are a holistic being, the body, the mind, and the soul. And all three are integrated, and no one is more important or no less than the other. And we still only treat the physical. So there's a that's why we're at our infancy, because we haven't even got the basics. We don't know the system, how it works, and our part in it. But I can tell you that there is a part in it. So that's all I wanted to get on, and just briefly explain the system and tell you you're all full of shit and you've got a long way to go. But, be kinder to each other. Let's start with that. If you're going to have to be accepting of people going and killing other people, you wouldn't like it if it was your family, or, families all we got, really. Our greatest love, and if you would say to anyone, I'll give you $1 billion or the safety of your child, you would get the safety of your child over that $1 billion, wouldn't you? So for those few narcissist people that are out there, but they're sort of, everything that's good has to have, because of the duality of life, has have to come from shit. So the bad shit has to happen for us to be able to overreact and to be able to make things better. So we're all part of that system as well, which we've got no idea, but we'll just keep going, won't we? And but I just want to give you a quick overview of that basic system, but it's quite complex and goes on a little bit more and more, but hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. But first step, be a little bit kinder. Thanks for listening.